Welcome everybody to this week's episode of Relic News. Today I'll be featuring Franz from the Hoover Boys. Now Kurt is from Maryland, and as a child he was always fascinated by treasure stories. He always had his eyes glued to the ground to see what he could find. Back in the 1990s, Kurt and his best friend decided to purchase a metal detector. This is when he had purchased a White's XLT. He enjoyed his time metal detecting his neighborhood and parks. Then life happened, and unfortunately metal detecting took the side burner for about 15 years. In the spring of 2014 is when he came across his old White's XLT. This is when he decided to dust it off and take it for a swing. He joined his local metal detecting club, and this is where he had met Bill, Leo, and Brad. And there you have it, the Hoover Boys. Kurt had a hard time just choosing one find, as he loves them all, but it would have to be his 1800s Rubus wax seal. This find had won him the Find of the Year with his local metal detecting club. All the pictures represent "I hope you are well."
Here is my favorite relic I've ever dug. This over here on the right is a watch key, and this here is a wax stamp.
Kurt's oldest coin is a 1694 Maryland halfpenny. Kurt's most memorable find would have to be the love token.
We got some water in a little bottle that we call the Hoover Boys Foo-Foo juice. Let's clean it up a little bit. That is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Oh my God, 1882. I was born in 1982, so this was made 100 years before I was born. That is so freaking awesome. Katie. You know what else is crazy? My wife's name is Kathleen.
Kurt would have to say his most memorable hunt was the hunt that he had with the stealth diggers.
They've never been here. This is one of the last few on their unknown map.
Sure, I think you should have the honors the first swing. All I did was check for iron. Didn't even take the culture. At the hole. I took culture out there, got a brass buckle.
Did you ask me more of a couple guys?
Now I'll feature Relic Medic. He is from New Brunswick. Like Kurt, Chris was fascinated by treasure stories as a child. When Chris was only 8 years old, his father used to take him to old foundations to search for some old treasure. He did find a roofing hatchet and some nails, and at 8 years old, it was the world to him. One day, in June of 2014, he only had about an hour to go metal detecting. He grabbed his gear and rushed out the door. He came across a large signal, which kind of sounded like a tin can, but he decided to dig it anyway. When he opened the plug, he was shocked to see an 1807 8 Spanish real staring right back at him. Chris was so excited about his find that he packed up his gear and he went home. Needless to say, he could not sleep and was extremely anxious to return. The next day, he returned to the site, 20 minutes into his hunt and only 3 inches away where he had found his 8 Spanish real. This is where he had uncovered a second one. Now a few minutes later, he had gotten another signal. This one sounded to be a little different, a little bigger. When he had opened the plug, this is where he had uncovered 2 more Spanish 8 reals. And then 4 feet away, another. So in a 12 by 12 area, a 12 by 12 foot area, he had recovered 5 Spanish 8 reals. With a lot of intense research, Chris had found a loyalist homestead. And this is where he had uncovered his favorite relic, and it would have to be the silver buckle.
Welcome to DigTips for this week. My name is Dave Wise. Today's tip will be don't get frustrated when you're detecting. You need to have patience, persistence, and You know, a lot of these sites that me and Todd Hiltz hunt are heavily infested with iron nails, these colonial cellar holes, and the key is to just slow down, listen for the high tones in the iron, because there's tons of great targets being masked by all the iron around these cellar holes. I could show you just one of many finds that was just a small bleep of a high tone coming through the iron. This is a late 1800s New York City trolley car conductor badge, hat badge, which was just being masked by all the iron. You know, I'm glad I was going slow and I was able to recover this piece of history that would have been lost forever probably. So, you know, I see a lot of new guys that they get all excited to buy a machine, and then they don't seem to find anything because they don't have the patience or persistence to stick with it. So that's the key: is slow down, be patient and persistent. And it's not all treasure. There's a lot of trash that you got to dig. So that's this week's dig tip. Be safe out there. I hope everybody has a nice holiday coming up and a joyous new year. Thanks. Bye.
This is Todd Hiltz, and today for this week's dig tip of the week, I want to talk about hunting a site in more than one way. And what I mean by that is, after hunting a particular site in your normal hunting mode, try going back over that area again, but this time hunt it in a different mode. And what I usually do, what I like to do, is I'll switch to an all metal mode with no discrimination at all. And what that normally does is that this is going to allow the machine to completely open up, and it's going to allow you to hear those targets that normally are going to be masked by trash, or in our case, when Dave and I usually hunt, we're hunting in iron infested areas. So it allows it to hear those targets that normally masked by that iron. Now, hunting in a mode with no discrimination at all and all metal, it could be one of the most difficult ways to hunt, but for me it's been one of the most rewarding ways to hunt. But I promise you, if you give this a shot, you're going to be shocked at what you find and what you didn't hear the first time you went over the site. So there you have it. That's this week's dig tip of the week.
My next feature is Teresa from the Canadian Metal Detecting Forum. In 2013, shortly after moving to Powell, British Columbia, she took up the hobby of metal detecting. After a lot of research, she purchased her AT Pro. As soon as she put the headphones on and turned on the machine, she was hooked. If you ask Teresa what her favorite find is, she would have to say it's her Turner and Beaton company button. This button was found at an old logging camp. This button most likely came from a local store that was open in 1878 and closed its doors in 1939. Turner had left the company and became the premier of British Columbia. Now, what is truly incredible is this next find. She was metal detecting the old logging camp when she came across a Roman coin. Now, this coin was certified and authenticated as a 308 to a 324 AD Roman coin. Now, how did this coin end up in a logging camp in British Columbia?
Oh, it's a ring, yo. Yeah, silver. Looking for that number. Yeah, it's stamped. Yeah, it is. That a yin yang.
Thank you everybody for watching this episode. Don't forget to check out my new Facebook group called Relic News. And I look forward to seeing you all next week.